Few minutes. Let's get it back in here to the studio because we really want to focus on the radar at this point. We were just talking about, yes, landfall officially at Siesta Key here from the National Hurricane Center, and the eye wall, the northern eye wall, is unfortunately where the worst of the weather is, and it is in the most populated part here of Tampa Bay, in Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete. So Hillsborough and Pinellas County, this is where our worst is going to be here, and it will continue this way for the next couple of hours. We've got the strongest winds that we've seen so far from the system moving into Tampa. If you were with us 10-15 minutes ago, we took a power hit here at the station, thankfully getting things back online for you so we can continue to cover this storm for you. But again, downtown St. Pete, Gulfport, Boca Ciega, St. Pete Beach, Paso Grill, Treasure Deer Beach, the wind and the rain. The surge is staying to our south. We could see a little bit of bay surge with this northeast wind coming into downtown St. Pete because we have winds coming in from the opposite direction. That could push some of the water up here and give us a little bit of surge, but it doesn't appear that we're seeing water rises happen pretty rapidly at this point now in Tampa Bay. Where we're seeing the highest water rises are, of course, down to the south of the eye wall. So we're just stuck. We are completely stuck right now in this band, and look how slow it is moving to south. The band is about 70 to 80 miles wide. It starts here in Thonotosassa, Plant City, and Lakeland, and it goes all the way out into the Gulf of Mexico here from Anna Maria Island up to Paso Grill. And with the storm moving in this direction, that means this is all going to slowly move in this direction and put us, unfortunately, in the spot where we could see up to a foot to 2 feet of rain. Well, we've already had a foot in portions of St. Pete and also Pinellas County. We're possibly going to add another 6 to 12 inches of rainfall on top of what we've had. So again, freshwater flooding, an extreme concern for us here as we're looking at the new flood warning that came out, and the National Weather Service tags them with what type of threat is in the warning, and this is a considerable threat. So it's a pretty heightened risk that we're likely seeing some flash flooding. So in Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs, Clearwater, still locked in the rainfall. The strongest part of the eye wall is now in St. Pete. Look at this, Pinellas Point. My goodness. This is about it's on the radar when we're talking about extremely heavy rainfall. These rainfall rates could be upwards of 4 to 6 inches per hour within this northern eye wall. That's also the case here at MacDill Air Force Base in South Tampa, most of which, of course, was evacuated because of the threat for surge if the eye would have made landfall to our north. But we're locked in downtown Tampa with it right now as well, completely covered up in extremely heavy rainfall and wind gusts that could exceed 80 miles per hour. Again, the strongest that we've had so far was at the eye wall. Just updated with Tampa International now, 74-mile-per-hour gusts here at the airport. That again been the gust that knocked us briefly without power here. So hurricane force gusts with this eye wall now in Tampa had so
been speaking with officials from Tampa and Hillsborough County. So far, they are monitoring conditions as well. But here right now, there's a strong gust that's coming through. I don't know if you can tell with the camera, but you can definitely see that the rain is picking up. The wind speeds are picking up in downtown Tampa. And you better believe, like our awesome meteorologists have been saying throughout the night, this is only going to get worse throughout the next several hours as the storm crosses over the state of Florida. But again, I am sticking by and talking to officials, and if they have any sort of problem areas that I need to tell you about, I will definitely let you know within the next 30 to 45 minutes. But for now, I am live in downtown Tampa. Ty Russell, 8 on your side.
All right, thanks, Ty. There are a lot of power outages across the area already.
More possibly coming to St. Pete, Clearwater, Tampa, and then areas to the east. Lakeland, you are on the northeastern edge of the eye wall. It's continuing to fill in here as well. So we're locked in with the heavy rainfall. Your wind gusts will probably start to pick up. We've already had 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts at Linder International Airport. We'll likely get to the 75-mile-per-hour gusts here like in Tampa coming up momentarily. So widening out, the worst of the rainfall, the worst of the wind is in this band right here that's basically parked itself from Seffner, Brandon to Tampa, Plant City as well, and then down into central and southern portions here of St. Petersburg. This is where we're looking at rainfall rates again that could exceed 4 to 6 inches of rainfall per hour.
Brooksville gusted is 76.
So even up to Brooksville, we're seeing hurricane force gusts.
76 mile per hour wind gusts. That is the second time they've gusted over 70.
So 70 mile per hour plus wind gusts here in Brooksville, that far removed from the eye wall. And this is why, unfortunately, those power outage numbers are really going to start to crank as we go into the remainder of the night. Flash flooding also a concern for those of you north. Look at south. Look at how dry it is in our southern zones where the eye actually has come on shore and will be moving. It's going to be incredibly different to see the gradient between not much rain down south to the extreme rainfall rates that we're seeing here up north, with this eye wall basically moving right along I-4. And this is panning out pretty much how the National Hurricane Center and what we were thinking would happen with this is if it makes landfall in Sarasota, Manatee County, that northern eye wall would set up that potential 6 to 12 to 18-inch water rainfall totals. And that's unfortunately what is coming to fruition. So I think once we get past the severe and dangerous wind threat with the eye wall, it's really going to be about flash flooding and water rises that are happening not from storm surge here from Pinellas and Hillsborough County north, but unfortunately because of the water rising on our creeks, our rivers, our streams, all of these are going to start rising pretty rapidly, and that's why we have the warnings out. I'm going to turn the warnings back on. There are going to be a bunch of them that show up. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Thankfully, I'm not seeing any spin or tornado warnings showing up at this point. It's bad enough when you're contending with 70 to 100 mile per hour winds. Remember, the extreme wind warning set to go for another 45 minutes. We'll see if they do extend it east as the eye wall begins to move to the east. But again, the worst of it is right now moving through Tampa Bay, Pinellas, Hillsborough County, getting over to Polk County. Not forgetting you in Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus. You guys are socked in with very heavy rainfall here as well. But when it comes to the winds, that's where we're seeing them the strongest. And that's going to continue as it slides to the east and to the northeast. Greg, are you seeing anything that I'm missing so far?
No, I mean, I'm concerned about this rain band, obviously. I think that rain band in south of there is where there's going to be a new center that's going to reform, and this is just going to keep this in Hillsborough County. It's going to start moving northeast. The winds here are going to be locked in for at least another couple more hours.
So you're talking about it potentially here, basically right along I-75,
yeah.
I-275, yeah, where they come together, and then to areas north and east. So what Greg is talking about is basically what we were looking at. This is the zone right in here that is going to run into extreme rainfall totals that could exceed a foot, if not a foot and a half, maybe closing in on 20 inches if we do not get this band to start moving off to the east-northeast pretty quickly. So that's the band that's the worst of it right now. And of course, within it, we've got the winds that are really, really strong too. I'm going to just do a couple of plots here just to see what shows up. Let me pause this for us, see what we're looking at. These winds should start to come down a little bit, though, now that we're seeing it moving on shore. But clearly, what we're looking at is these are the wind heights that are elevated. This is not what's actually happening down at the ground. So you take about 5 to these. So either way you look at it, we're still looking at Category 2 winds showing up on our radar. But as it's moving onshore, of course, it made landfall with 120 mile per hour winds here in Siesta Key from the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, giving us that information as well. Power outages, we are looking at. Let's go ahead and take a live look outside here in Tampa right now, where we're seeing this rain band set up over top of us as well. This band is sitting over, is that in Ybor City? Is that downtown? He's in where? Hyde Park. So that's in Hyde Park. So that's what it looks like. They're getting the camera shot ready for us as the rain is coming down in Hyde Park. Surprising that we still have power there because those power outage numbers. Lauren, have the numbers started to spike here in the last hour?
Yeah. So I just refreshed Tico, and it's 124,000 in Tico and Duke.
254,000 is Duke Energy.
So it's nearly doubled. Yeah.
So Adam's standing by in Hyde Park. And it looks like it's just the rain is pretty intense. Adam?
We got lots of wind. Let me just step out here for a minute and you can kind of see how it's coming down and how it's getting pretty gusty and a turn for the worse in the last half hour or so. Really coming down. It's been coming down all day, but it's really intensified in the last few minutes, and we're getting these of wind along with it. We've seen the power blink on and off quite a few times, so we're not sure how much longer we'll have power here, but we're here at Hyde Park. more or less abandoned. Only our hotel has anybody here right now, but we have certainly seen the rain and the wind pick up quite a bit in the last few minutes as this storm is getting closer to Tampa, and it certainly has intensified quite a bit. You can see from these pictures, the wall's just kind of screaming in. This rain is kind of coming in. We're in a protected area right here. For those of you familiar with the Hyde Park Village, there's big parking garages right here, but the wind is still whipping along that. And on these cross streets, we can see the wind just coming through there. Lots of water just coming down, just a wall of water as this rain continues to fall at a huge fast pace right now. So this is probably the worst conditions we've seen so far in the last few minutes, guys.
Yeah, we're going to continue to see that being the case here because, again, this eye wall, it's almost as if it's stationary. It's moving, but we're not seeing that water, that rain band move at this point. Also want to take a look at the radar again, show you what we're looking at because, again, very important, the worst of the weather happening right now, Hillsborough, Pinellas County, as the eye has made landfall to our south. I want to sneak over here into St. Petersburg because we have seen 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts here from St. Pete, and we do have Eric who's out live in St. Petersburg in the northern eye wall. If we do, go ahead and get it out to him and see what conditions are like there. Eric, not sure if you're with us or not, but we had 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts showing up in St. Pete. What are you seeing?
We're seeing those wind gusts for sure. We're on Central Avenue and 17th, right in front of a building that is protecting us, but you can just see the wind swirling. I mean, it's like we're seeing a band right here going down Central and curling around. I mean, the power of this right now, and you can just see absolute sheets of rain coming at us in a circular motion. And look at this street sign right here. Jason, if you can pan back right here, look at the stop sign just blowing in the wind like it's nothing. And you're seeing and then experience it and move down here. So we're in this hotel, the power, there were some power surges. In fact, I just heard a transformer, what sounded like a transformer blowing. But this is wicked. No other way to describe it. Yeah, and guys, they shut down the elevators here because they didn't want to have anybody stuck in the elevators, as you can imagine. And we came down to the first floor. We had been on the third floor balcony, but as conditions worsened, it was not advisable to be up on a balcony anymore. But we're down here. You can really get a good look again. And this is couple apartment buildings right here. Ferocious right now, the worst by far that we have seen. Sheets of rain just pouring down, coming up against these buildings. And you know, we talked earlier again about the danger of all those construction cranes that are working on projects in downtown St. Petersburg, and what could happen if 100-mile-an-hour plus wind hits those things. The city put out a warning advising people who live near those buildings to definitely relocate if possible or go to interior spots. So if you're by one of those cranes, definitely beware. We are seeing the amazing power of Hurricane Milton here in St. Petersburg, north of the eye wall.
Eric, it's Dennis. I got a question for you.
Yes.
So, you know, you're talking about the wind, but you guys have had a ton of rain, too. Are you seeing any flooding around there?
No, where we are, thankfully, we are not seeing. But I mean, if you just look down the street, I mean, you see what looks almost like a river, but it is definitely not that deep yet. But where we are, a couple blocks from Tropicana, as a staging area for the National Guard and all the linemen, the electrical workers that are here. So we are in high ground, but we can only imagine, you know, what they were flooded out by Hurricane Hermine.
You know what, though? You know what, Eric? I think Jason and I just kind of figured out maybe why there's no flooding, because we have a reverse surge going on in the bay right now. So whenever the wind's blowing everything in, that water's going to flood more. But now the bay is draining. So the water that you're getting is draining. Yeah,
and, you know, we've been noticing, you know, you expect as you're looking west this way and a hurricane is coming from the Gulf, that we would see the clouds and everything and the wind going this way. But all day long, it's been going the opposite. We saw clouds moving west towards 275, just trucking along. And now all the wind and everything in these sheets of rain are going in that same kind of direction away from the bay. So that kind of goes along with exactly.
Yeah, I remember there have been times. Well, Irma we had, and nobody's of the same thing. So you know what? That might very well be why we're not seeing it. So Eric, thank you very much. Check back. Just so you know, we're looking at it. You probably have another 60 before down. We've reached the peak, though. I don't imagine it's going to be any stronger than that because that eye has moved inland, so it should start weakening even quicker. Again, Eric Waxlow, thank you very much, live in St. Pete. So here's the latest, guys. We got a lot of stuff to go over. Landfall down to the south. What we were saying, what that means for the bay, we have a reverse surge going on. In other words, the water is going out. And with that being said, that makes it for flooding to occur because there's obviously no kind of backup drains. It's got plenty of spots to go. Whereas if you had an onshore flood tries to drain, literally can't happen, and we get a lot of flooding. So with this offshore flow, because the low is here, and fortunately, it's substantially inland. I mean, to the south, rather. So, you know, 4 hours ago, this is just a perfect example of how fickle wobbles can be when it comes to these storms. I mean, it was going north, and then it moved a little bit. And I'll be honest, literally us in the Weather Center, Jason and I had this exact conversation. It's like, okay, it's got to make a hard right turn to actually make land in Sarasota. It made a hard right turn. I mean, and it's just one of those things where none of the models are going to show that because it's unpredictable. That's why it's called nowcasting. So at this point, there's your eye. It has moved inland. So think about it. All of the areas to the north have an offshore flow. Now, eventually, when it moves north up here, it's going to eventually bring back an onshore flow. But by then, it's more than likely far enough away and weaker that I would expect, Greg, I mean, don't you guys agree that the surge levels of 6 to 9 might even be high?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, so we've been saying this for hours. It all boiled down to just how close that center gets to the bay, and it's pretty far south of Sarasota, Siesta Key. Now, it is going to move this way, but as it does, it's going to weaken. So I'll tell you guys, dodged a bullet considering what we are looking at in terms of all of the wind. There are trees down. There is flooding. There will be a lot of surge areas south. Sarasota, Siesta Key, Fort Myers, all the way down to Naples. A while. The threat in the bay is significantly lower now.
Tonight.
In 3 hours.
The last time I checked in with you all, I spoke with Sheriff Al Nienhuis, and he was urging everyone across the county to hunker down. He was driving back to the EOC to hunker down for the night. So we've taken that advice. We are back at our hotel, and we're getting our doorstep here. You can see using through these street lights here, which are fortunately still on, just how powerful this wind is, how rain is. And the sheriff was just telling me that the heavy wind is pushing trees into roadways. They also have reports of down power lines across the county right now. And because of the strong wind, they have suspended their normal routine emergency operation, which includes debris pickup. They will not pick up those trees or those power lines overnight. They will wait to do that damage assessment, all to have everyone hunker down, the roads to be. Now, just south of here in Pasco County tonight, they have suspended operations. Will not be out on the road answering routine calls because the wind is long. In both counties, Hurricam, though, tell me you're to call 911 if you are having and want to know what is safe there. Of course, they will take action as it's safe to. Nandanine, 10 Tampa Bay.
Thank you so much, and we're glad that you guys are safe. Moving back to the hotel, we want to get right to Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. Bobby, Milton made landfall just about 20 minutes ago, Siesta Key, and it is far from out of here.
Yeah, 8.
It's looking pretty good for the surge threat now. It really is. As you continue to see this move from north to east, look, it's going to continue, and it's going to continue for quite a while. So for the folks who evacuated to Orlando, you're going to get hurricane force winds. And I know there's a lot of folks watching us right now on streaming. And since there's 250,000 people without power, let's remind people how you can watch or listen to us even without power. Because from now, for the next 4 or 5 hours, there's nothing worse than being in a house with no electricity, pitch black, hearing trees and branches and everything going out, and you have no connection to the world. So here are our radio partners. You can tune in, and they'll be simulcasting our coverage. And in addition, you can also download our ABC Action News app. That's either on Google Play or on iTunes. You do that, you can actually watch our coverage. On the radio, it's fine if you don't have the ability to download it, but you don't get to see what it is we're showing. And radar, seeing the radar can be super helpful. But down where landfall occurred, right here, as Chad and Michael showed you, it's quiet. Wouldn't be surprised if the stars are out in some spots, but yeah, they're still getting wind, but just not nearly as much on the backside. Jason, you got something?
St. Pete gusted to 94, and we have Tampa International that has gusted now to 82.
All right. And you know what? I think those numbers are going to be kind of solid. I think they're going to probably be our maxes. Would you not agree, guys?
Yeah. And there's what it looks like right now here at our station. And our roof is popping because of the winds that are going over it. So, yeah.
And I will share a funny story since I made fun of Wendy. I made fun of Wendy because she was talking about golf ball size raindrops in one of the live shots with Lydia.
And anyone from up north, I'm getting emails and Facebook messages saying we knew exactly what you meant. And we support you.
Yeah, okay.
He just doesn't understand.
Yeah, they just don't have the heart to make fun of you. All right, so yeah, golf ball size raindrops. Well, what I said might have been worse because Greg's over in the Weather Center and the lights are moving because obviously we're in a hurricane. The lights are moving pretty. I walked over and I look at Greg and he's like, Dennis, the lights are moving like this. And my response was, what, is it windy? And I was serious. And I will tell you why. I used to work in Los Angeles. And when I think of lights moving, I think earthquake. I'm like, all right, you're going to throw an earthquake in here too, then I give up. All right, so, but at the end of the day here, you know, obviously real significant weather, and we're going to go to our reporters, and we're going to continue covering this. And we are by no means breathing a sigh of relief, but with the surge, I mean, I guess you could say we're breathing a sigh of relief because the levels with a storm this far south and an offshore significantly lower than they would be. As a matter of fact, a reverse surge is going on, and it would not shock me at all if we get some people who are out there and they see the bay pretty much dry, like we had with Irma. We're going to go to Jenna Ray.
Yes, she's in Ybor City.
In Ybor City with an update on how things are popping in Ybor. Jenna?
Hi, you guys. As you can see, this rain is whipping. We were out here an hour ago, and it was not near intense. Take a look at me. You can really see how fast and hard this rain. 2 seconds before you guys tossed to me, we did see the lights flicker. That's about the second time in the last hour that we've seen that. Again, in Ybor City, we still have power at the moment, but as this wind is picking up, obviously, that becomes a lot of people here. Now, we've been talking to people in the hotel that we're staying at. A lot of Tampa residents are actually staying at this hotel. A lot of people from St. Pete and from the coast, they came in more inland for the storm ahead of it. A couple that I talked to, they spend half of their time here in Tampa and another west, and they say that they just went through Helene weeks ago, and they said that it scared them. They were out of power. The move for this hurricane, and they think that they made the right decision. Obviously, we still have power now, but you're seeing as this makes landfall the impact that this is having here. Again, we almost have horizontal rain whipping at us at this intersection. You can see, I mean, this intersection, it's almost crazy to picture and to see. I hope it comes across across as intense as it is that we're seeing out here with this whipping rain. The trees are whipping back and forth. We're seeing tree branches being pulled off of the trees. This area did see some of these boarded up businesses across the street from where we're at. A lot of businesses in Ybor City look like this now. Boarded up windows, boarded up doors. A lot of them have that sandbag reinforcement. We're also seeing some lightning. We haven't seen that here yet, but again, within the last hour, as this storm has ramped up, we're seeing these more intense effects of the hurricane coming in here. We are in a safe location. We are not in an evacuation zone. So as you guys mentioned, with the weather forecasting and what's coming forward, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see this and this wind coming in as this continues to intensify.
All right, Jenna, thank you. We actually just took a power hit here as well. So, you know, you're not alone out there. We're not alone here. Of course, many counties in our area are actually out of power completely. So thank you, Jenna. We want to turn now to Pinellas County, where the winds have been picking up out there, as many of our counties have seen.
Yeah, truly. Robert Boyd is live for us in Seminole right now. Robert, how are conditions there where you are?
Well, the crew have been in Pinellas. This is the worst we've seen it by far. This minivan right next to me, every few minutes you actually see it kind of shaking back and forth. That's how powerful the wind has been. Trees just swaying back and forth. Stop signs rattling. We're hoping nothing comes loose and goes flying. Right there, that's a pretty big wind gust that just hit me. The good news is hardly any projectiles. I haven't seen much of anything flying that could hit us, which is good. That live in this neighborhood. They put everything, a lot of your furniture, all the lawn ornaments, they put it in. So right now, nothing really flying around, which is good. We're watching the trees go back and forth. As far as power outages, I think Dennis, I don't want to get this wrong, I think he said a 250,000 people without power. We'll count us in on that 250,000 because the Airbnb that me and the team were staying in lost power hours ago, probably around 6 o'clock. This neighborhood is dark, and then we see light, and it's not light power outages, more electrical explosions. So right now, very dangerous out here. We feel safe though because this area is, despite as crazy as it looks, was not an evacuation zone. They let the people stay here for the most part. Everyone's inside. I don't think I've seen a car drive by in about an hour or so. So people are staying safe, staying inside, and that's a good thing. And keep in mind, Pinellas County emergency, any kind of first responder, they're staying inside too. So if there's any kind of emergency out here, you're kind of on your own. So please stay safe. As tempting as it might be to even look out the window, you know, stay in a safe place in the middle of your home, away from windows, because the wind is coming, and you just don't know if something could break loose. Oh man, that was a big wind gust. You can see this van. I'm going to hold on to this van right now. I'm actually going to get a little closer to the garage and get back into safety. We've seen it all night long, and we'll be out here throughout the storm and continue to monitor it and just hope that people stay safe. Back to you guys.
All right, Robert. Yes, please stay safe. Get into a safer location if you can. Jason, go ahead.
A little bit of information we're just getting in from the National Weather Service. While we're seeing the reverse surge happening in Tampa Bay where water levels are coming down, those east-facing beaches, so MacDill Air Force Base, Bayshore Boulevard, because of the east wind and pushing out, and we are seeing some flooding on this side of South Tampa and also on this side of St. Pete and also Anna Maria Island. We're getting an east wind, which is actually causing a storm side. Now, as far as I've gotten those numbers, but we are getting reports of flooding in those area. So again, even though the surge maximized the highest to the south of our area with now very strong 80-90 mile per hour northeast winds, this is creating flooding on east-facing beaches, east-facing coast, I should say, from Anna Maria Island now north to St. Pete, also on Bayshore Boulevard in South Tampa near MacDill Air Force Base is where we're looking at some of that. So I just wanted to pass that along because and while we're not getting those rises in these areas, we haven't gotten any numbers yet from Sarasota as far as heights in Fort Myers Beach, storm surge there. Naples right now with storm surge down in Naples. So maximized to the south of the center, but some of our spots picking up a little bit on the storm surge too. We took another power hit. We do have more gusts, some of the wind gusts that I'll pass along really quickly, and then I'll get it back over to you, Wendy. 96 in Sarasota still, a new one of 94 in St. Pete, and Tampa so far, the highest gust, 82 miles per hour here at Tampa International Airport. So that's the very latest that we have.
All right, thank you, Jason. And by the way, you know, usually that side of Bayshore, closer to the base, near MacDill Air Force Base, doesn't normally flood. But after Helene, during Helene and after, we saw flooding in that area that we've never seen before. So, and I'm sure the ground is so sad about this. We do want to stay in Hillsborough County right now. Scripps News reporter Lillian Donahue is in Tampa on our ABC garage right across the street from Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah, and earlier, like 5 minutes ago. So talk about the conditions outside. For people who don't know, ABC Action News is right across the street from Ray J, so it's in that West Tampa area.
Yeah, you heard that. We saw that power hit. We've seen at least 2 transformers blow in this direct area. And of course, power go down twice here at the station. Quickly, these are the strongest winds that we have seen. So this is we're right now, but there's kind of like a coming through when we park a lot of the cars. But you can see across the street over at Ray J Stadium. I mean, it's just complete. I don't want to say why out right now. If you're looking at this wind level here, sustained, strong, the strongest we've seen so far. Especially if you zoom into those lights, that's really where you can see that wind. Where it's coming from, it's coming. We've also noticed it whipping around as it hits the buildings, kind of almost going in a circular motion before continuing. You know, I'm from the Midwest, and I learned how to count, you know, how far lightning strikes are by the thunder. And I'm telling you, the lightning that we've seen here recently, very close. Some close to the point that I actually went a little bit further into the garage for a few minutes before I felt like it was safe enough to get to the edge here. But again, just kind of showing you these conditions. The ground completely saturated right now. No one outside, thank goodness, because of what we're seeing. Of course, these winds, these gusts are coming in and out, but we can feel the power of Milton as it's coming in. And like I said, you know, you heard it, we saw it. Those transformers blowing. That one, there was one over there behind you. There was also one over that way. And I think there was a lightning, but it did have a pretty immediate boom. So like I said, when you're counting how far, going old school, how far this stuff is, you know, it's really close to us right now. And that's kind of exactly what we're seeing. Back to you guys.
All right, Lillian, thank you.
So we do want to stay in the Pinellas, Hillsborough areas because those are the counties really seeing the brunt of the weather right now. In the
yeah, that's right. And our Eric Waxler is standing by in downtown St. Pete with what the weather conditions are out there right now. Eric?
Yeah, I haven't used the word deluge in a long time, I think, but I would say it is definitely appropriate. I just had an onslaught of rain now for a few hours here in downtown St. Pete. Central Avenue that way. We are on 17th Street. We are protected by a 7-story building here, the True by Hilton Hotel, and it really is giving us a unique perspective because it's we're seeing the wind and the rain whip around in a southwest motion, like almost like we're in a band. And if you look at these cars, if you've ever seen a vehicle put in a wind tunnel to test aerodynamics, I feel like we're getting a look at that when some of the sheets of rain come over these 2 trucks that are here. You're really seeing that exact thing as the water comes over these cars. Just an incredible amount of wind, and we look off into the distance. You see the trees, you see the power lines, the street signs blowing around here. This is by far the strongest that we've had here, and we've had some strong gusts. We were on the 3rd floor balcony, if you were watching earlier, and as the conditions worsened, they closed the doors, they locked. We're shaking from the wind, and now we're down here on the 1st floor and really getting an incredible look at the power that Hurricane Milton is giving us here in downtown St. Petersburg. It is something to behold. It's all we can do is hope that everyone here is safe, and we're hearing transformers blow. So we just hope that everyone here is safe as we continue to monitor conditions. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Eric. We do want to go back to
The
Paul and
emotions.
Bradenton now.
Emotions are running high tonight.
Yes, it's scary to think about the families and everything that's going on. It's the emotions all over the place, especially we still haven't recovered from what it just happened about a week and a half ago, and then this is happening. So it's just, you know, we're all sticking together and getting through this.
And that's what we're doing, sticking together. People are taking this brief moment of calmness to walk their dogs, let them out just for a few moments. But obviously so many people here, so many elderly people, yes, kids here. How did you survive Helene? How did you fare?
Sticking together. I mean, the crew here at the Homestead Suites we're just one unit here, and we're just here to help everybody out.
The rain, like nails to the face, it's blowing sideways and up, and the wind is actually stronger now, even though, as what I looked at on the radar. Okay, all right. No, we're good. Yep. Okay, just seeing some things blow up behind me, transformers. So the wind is definitely strong. It's interesting how, I mean, I guess it's perspective because the wind is blowing from a different direction, so you're feeling it in a different way. I know behind the house there is some damage. The wind blew down the fence behind the house earlier because the wind was coming from the north, and so again, the house shielding us earlier in our live reports. So behind the house there's damage. Now it's coming from the other direction, blowing not quite toward the house, but in this direction. And so we're seeing some signs really take a beating, some trees take the beating, and the rain, quite frankly, it's like nails on the face. We spoke with the next door neighbor, because this neighborhood, a lot of people stayed here to ride out the storm. Wow, okay. And we're in their garage, literally next door, 10 feet from us. I want to quickly talk. Go ahead, go ahead. Ask a question.
Hey, Paul, it's Jason. You answered my question. The reason why I wanted to talk to you as debris is flying by, so be careful, buddy. Watch it. You answered the question, though. I was talking about
you guys
how
having
the
to switch
winds
to
will
transformer power. At about the exact time she said that, I saw a large blue arc over downtown Tampa. No doubt there was some transformer or some electrical facility in downtown Tampa that experienced a problem at just about the exact moment that Rebecca said you lost power inside the station. So what we're seeing here on Davis Islands is this water. It's still about a foot and a half deep where we are. This, again, is not storm surge from what we can tell. This is just the incredible rainfall that has been going on here in Tampa all day long. And this has been going on for hours. This rain has been coming down. And as I know from having lived in this area for a long time, it's not just tonight where we're going to see localized street flooding. People who live along waterways, no doubt, will see that water rise over the course of the next few days. And so it will take us some time to be able to get out to assess where the most damage is. And of course, we're not even able to go out tonight to drive around to the areas that have experienced the greatest wind damage. But certainly there are a lot of low-lying areas that are experiencing this incredible, intense rainfall throughout the course of this evening that will have flooding for some time to come. And this is the kind of street flooding, unfortunately, that doesn't go away rapidly. Of course, Florida has its sandy soil and absorbs water, but the ground here has been saturated by hours and hours of rain, and we've had a lot of rain this week. So just having this much rainfall in this amount of time for such a prolonged period of time, that's going to be the unfortunate thing. And of course, people are still recovering from Hurricane Helene, trying to clean up their homes, dry out their homes, and now we're experiencing this. So people who live in low-lying areas are going to have that double whammy, if you will, of having the intensity of Helene and now this incredible rainfall from Milton. So when we are able to get out tomorrow to drive around to assess the damage, we'll know better then what exactly has happened. But I can just tell you, looking down Davis Boulevard and watching this incredible wave of water and wind blow down the street here has been amazing. I know that some of the power is still on here on Davis Islands, but I have friends down in the Ruskin and Riverview area who have been texting me they have lost power just within the last hour. So we're seeing that, and again, it's because of that shift of wind, and areas that may have done well on the front side of the storm, now when the back side of the storm hits them, that's when more problems can crop up. But we're going to move inside right now. I know that some people have expressed concern. We're looking out for overhead things to make sure that nothing is about to fall on us, but the wind and the rain and the intensity is really picking up now, so we're going to toss it back to you guys.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you. Jeff Patterson reporting live out there, and he has to be really careful because, you know, when you have things falling over, that could include power lines, and the last thing you want is to be out in the water and a line is down. It can be fatal.
Not to mention all that debris that's out there. And if you're wondering what's going on behind us, we had a power surge. We are working to get all of our monitors restored. That will happen eventually. But Hillsborough County leaders warn they don't want you going anywhere. They want you to stay put, stay sheltered where you are, hunkered down, because even though the storm made landfall at 8:30 in Siesta Key, we are still going to see the effects of it for many, many more hours.
Cat 3 storm, the winds continue to blow, and so does the rain continue to fall. News Channel 8's Ty Russell live along the Hillsborough River in downtown Tampa. You are under shelter, so we want to point that out. But behind you, I mean, I was watching the palm trees when I was outside a moment ago looking myself. Incredible.
Yeah, Keith, and thank goodness that the photographer and I, we are under this shelter, because while Jeff Patterson was live, there was some strong wind gusts, and I kept turning around and watching my back to make sure that no debris was flying through the air. But I'll step out of the way just so you could take a gander at what we are experiencing over here. This side of downtown Tampa, you can see the lights are still on over here. It's hard to see the river, but when I was able to walk a little bit closer to it, roughly 30 minutes ago, I did see the water being pushed out of here. So we're not experiencing any flooding from the river, but so far the power is still on this side of downtown Tampa. No flooding from the river, but we are experiencing these strong gusts, and I mean, they will come out of nowhere. And that's why we are underneath the shelter. We're in a little corner here to make sure that we are safe to continue bringing you live coverage as we experience the eye wall. But I do also want to mention, I've been getting updates from Hillsborough County deputies. There are power lines that are down at Broadway Avenue and North 43rd Street. That's just east of East Ybor area, so you want to be mindful about that. That's why officials have been telling us to make sure that we tell viewers you must stay inside and wait for the all clear to be given, because not only are we going to experience power lines that are down, there will be trees that are down, and also those traffic lights. I don't know if you may remember, if you were watching the CW during Helene, I was live on the interstate when unfortunately a sign fell onto a vehicle and one person was killed. So that's why officials have been telling us to make sure that we relate this information to viewers, to tell them to stay inside and wait for the all clear. But if you're looking at that garage in the distance over here, you can just see the rain falling on that garage. But because the winds are so strong, it's that sideways rain, and it's that rain that'll hurt your face if it hits you in the face. Because of the wind speeds are so strong right now, and we're expecting them to only get stronger. We're expecting these gusts to continue over the next several hours as the eye makes its way across the state of Florida. Right now, there's one of these strong gusts coming through. I don't know if you can really tell in the camera, but I'm definitely feeling that strong gust where it's sometimes hard to stand in place when that strong wind comes by. But so far, so good in this particular area. Again, you just heard that power lines are down, and I'm pretty sure throughout the next 2 to 3 hours, I'll be getting more reports from Hillsborough County officials along with Tampa officials about some of the problems that they are seeing so far. But right now, when I get another update, that should be in about like 30 to 45 minutes, I will let you know about other problems in the area just to make sure when you venture out tomorrow and wait for the all clear that you'll know where power lines are down, where trees are down, to avoid those problematic areas. But for now, we are live in downtown Tampa. I'm Ty Russell, 8 on your side.
Yeah, we definitely don't want people to jump the gun, Ty, on getting out there and trying to see the damage. Certainly nothing to see at night like this.
Well, you know where Jeff,
much safer to be inside.
Where Jeff and Ty are located, I was looking at the radar while they were talking, is the deepest, reddest part. So they're right in the thick of it right now. But if you go south, not quite as bad at the moment. But this is where they're really concerned about that storm surge.
Absolutely. News Channel 8's Nicole Rogers. She is in downtown Sarasota. You have ventured outside. Tell us about the conditions there now.
A lot of water. That's what I can tell you. You were just talking about the storm surge. We have so much water that has risen just in a couple of minutes. I'm not standing in it because though I have these waders on, we have seen the sky flash blue. I can't tell you how many times. But take a look at just how high this water has rose. This was a street that you saw me at earlier, now completely underwater. Now stepping over here, I want you to take a look. It gets worse as you go down the street. You can see it's significantly deeper and rising by the minute. To the left, you'll see this sign on the ground, something that we showed you earlier was kind of wobbling back and forth, now on the ground. Remember, we're only halfway through this storm. We have another half to go right now. An eerie feeling as we're in the eye, just seeing the wind go crazy, and all of a sudden, it's not too bad, but we're starting to see it pick back up. Garrett, tell me, first of all, what have you seen this hurricane do?
So far, I've just seen a lot of wind. It wasn't been too bad with the rain, but it's definitely picked up. I was standing out here not too long ago and just watching the insane gusts come by. Watch the sign right over there just blow right over. And not even 5 minutes ago, the water was 20 feet farther down. It's rising quick. It's crazy. Nothing like I've ever seen.
And we're really seeing the winds pick up. As I'm just looking at you in this interview, over your shoulder, the amount of debris that is flying right now. So now that you have seen, just in the time that you've been standing here with me, the water come up and up and up, right toward the hotel you're staying at, what's going through your head?
Well, at least we're on the 14th floor. That's all I gotta say. I mean, water can come in. Besides that, there's not much we can do about it, but oh well.
I think a lot of people look at this and they think, wow, like the incredible aspect of weather. It is so crazy to see. It is exhilarating. But the devastation really comes tomorrow. When the sunlight comes out, we're able to really see people's homes that have been destroyed. What do you foresee Sarasota is going to look like tomorrow?
Well, it's not going to look pretty. That's all I got to say. But I'm hoping to go home and still have a home because we're right on the water. But hopefully the storm surge doesn't come up much more, but as we're standing here, it's getting at my feet.
Yeah, definitely get out of the water, I can tell you. We are going to get back inside and back into a safe location as we have been for all the other bands of this, because as you can see, the wind is picking up, the storm surge is coming up. We're going to get back inside so that we can stay safe while keeping you informed. Live in Sarasota, Nicole Rogers, 8 on your side.
Thank you. Stay safe, Nicole.
Nice job out there, Nicole. It's difficult to get out in this stuff, but it does give you an interesting perspective for those of us who still have power to be able to see it, because the power has started to go out in places, especially like Pasco County.
I just got notification on my phone that my power went out. Let's go to Eileen Natchik. She's in Wesley Chapel, where it looks like she still has power.
Yeah, guys, luckily we do have power right now, but it's getting a little sketchy. It actually flickered on and off just about 10-15 minutes ago, but I want to talk about what I just saw moments ago was a huge gust of wind, 70 miles per hour. I had meteorologist Eric Stone with me as we were watching it. He said if we had stepped outside, it wouldn't have been good. If debris was piled up, it would not have been good. And with that being said, I'm going to step to my side again just so you can get a visualization of what we're seeing outside right now. Wind picking up. It is now sustained at about 40 miles per hour. You can see the palm tree shaking, the wind getting stronger as we speak, guys. And the most dangerous part about this is that wind picks up and then it goes back down. So please stay inside because you could get caught in that 70 mile per hour random gust of wind. Now, yes, those winds caused the power lines to go down in Pasco County, causing significant blockages on the road. Again, never drive over them or touch them because they still could be live. Pasco County Fire Rescue also suspending all emergency response in Pasco County because the roads are no longer safe to drive on. And again, those winds sustaining at 40 miles per hour, those gusts of wind are so dangerous to be outside of. That is why we have stepped inside the building and out of the dangerous area. So again, we'll be here all night long bringing you the latest coverage here in specifically Wesley Chapel, but of course, Pasco County in general. Send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Eileen.
I want to show you at Tampa Bay right now. We've seen this a time or two in the past, but right now the water, as expected, is being pulled out of Tampa Bay. News Nation's Brian Enton got his video crew to bring us this shot. Do we have that? This is going to be the reverse surge, as they call it, like we saw during Hurricane Irma, as well as Ian. Remember this, Stacey? People actually the next day walking out onto the land, not advised. But
you know,
just
I
to
had
do it.
someone text me, Keith, saying, I just heard that the water's being pulled out of the bay. Is that fake news?
No.
I said, that's absolutely not fake news. It's what happens depending on where the storm makes landfall. So yes, that's being pulled out. But as you saw down with Nicole Rogers, the water's just rising in Sarasota. Even though it's not raining, the water there is rising.
Yeah, two different sides of the storm, doing two different things. One's bringing it in, one's taking it out, and that is along Bayshore Boulevard.
And just coming in, there is a flash flood emergency, no surprise, but it's in effect until 2:30 a.m. That's for a big chunk of our area. But Keith, as you mentioned, we're in that big red zone where we're seeing all of that rain.
In the Tampa area, then we should see the wind lift east and northeast. And I think that highest wind core probably going to shift to corridor and swirling here around the studios. That's the latest here in Midtown Tampa at our studios. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Greg, I do want to ask you a question, and if you can't answer it, maybe Jason or Dennis can. I'm getting quite a few emails from a lot of folks about it's going to be a couple hours in Hillsborough County, for instance, that this is going to take. But I have folks in Hernando, Citrus, Pinellas asking how long do we have to hang in there, because some of them still have power, and they're like, if this is going to last any longer, I'm going to lose power any minute. So, do you have any idea based on what the radar looks like now?
Well, you know, incredibly, Wendy, we've been kind of talking about this in the Weather Center all evening. Brooksville has gusted over 70 miles per hour with a top gust of 76. 3 times, I believe, in this storm. They're nowhere near the eye. So if they're already gusting to 76, it's going to be several more hours before the center moves far enough away from Hernando County to really see those winds drop. Now, if you look at places like northeastern Hills, where the heaviest of the weather is moving in, Thornado-Sassa, back over towards New Tampa, that USF area, heading over towards Zephyr Hills, that 301 corridor, heading up past the Hillsborough River State Park on your way into Pasco County. That area is in the worst of it now. You're looking at 2 to 3 hours. So for those of you that are going to be close to the eye, on the northwest side of that eye, the worst of it is about 2 to 3 hours. For folks farther north, Citrus and Hernando County, Pasco, it's going to be longer than that. This is going to be a really long night for some folks as this thing is really slowing down, guys.
All right, thank you, Greg. Let's go now to Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips, because Dennis, what Greg was just saying, we're
not. And overall, right now, surge is the lowest threat, which is insane to think of, considering I think a lot of us, myself included, thought it would be ultimately the biggest threat. There is some flooding going on the east side of areas in the bay because you're getting the reverse surge. The water is being pushed out of the bay, and a landmass like South Tampa that can actually block that wind, that west wind blowing everything out, of the east wind rather, blowing everything out, and it will flood. So we are getting some reports, but overall, compared to what they will and are seeing south of Sarasota and Fort Myers, I don't want to say we dodged a bullet. I can't say that, because certainly we have right now a flash flood emergency in effect. When the Weather Service starts using words like catastrophic flooding, that gets our attention. And your phone probably just went off if you live in Pinellas or Hillsborough County, because that was just issued. 10 to 14 inches of rain so far, and there's still a lot more on the way. I mean, the eye is right here. It's moving in this direction, and eventually it will take this northwestern side of the eye wall with it, but not before they see another 4 to 6 inches of rain. So we're going to see some areas that are going to see 20 inches of rain. There is only one thing that helps a lot with this, and that is that same offshore flow. Because if water was being pushed in, there'd be nowhere for this rain to go, and it would back up, and we would see catastrophic flooding. I'm not saying we're not seeing it now, but I'm saying the fact that this flow is still significantly offshore, that will allow the water to drain instead of backing up. So that is one favorable thing in how things are setting up right now. In fact, that's an area right here. I can't zoom in on it. Let's go ahead and go over to, okay, yeah, Jason can walk on over there. So you've got this area in red, and that is where the reports of catastrophic flooding are occurring right now, with 10 to 14 inches of rain. So the red diamond right there, there it is. until 2:30 in the morning. Radar indicated catastrophic. Now that's an interesting setup, because this means this is not reports from people. This is not somebody calling the Weather Service saying, yikes, I'm flooding. This is just the Weather Service saying, man, you guys have had 10 to 14 inches of rain. This is crazy. There's got to be some serious flooding. And I'm sure there is. But again, my point is, it could be even worse than actually it would have been if the flow had been onshore. So this will continue for another 5 hours because this rain is going to take quite a while to go through. I want to talk about our inland counties, because at this point, that's where a lot of the questions are. Where is Polk County going to get rain, and how much wind are they going to see? And what about Highlands County? And what about areas toward Orlando? Well, there's a weather phenomenon, and I won't get too sciencey with you, but it's known as a sting jet. And what that does is when a system like ours, which was tropical, transitions to a non-tropical type storm, you often have a rush of air that comes in behind it. And that rush of air can easily go 70, 80, maybe even 90 miles an hour. So I really think that the I-4 corridor, even though the eye of the storm, I would probably guess this is going to be Cat 3 soon, now that the eye has actually moved over land. Two, rather. Yeah, I mean, if it goes down to 110. We haven't seen it yet. What's the latest on it?
By the way, 16 inches of rain now at Albert Whitted Airport. Coming to us. Wind-wise.
Got to talk it louder, Ileana. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, winds at 115.
All right, winds are 115, so we're down another 5 miles an hour. So 5 more, and we're down to a Category 2 storm. And rain is certainly falling. Look, Polk County is not really getting all that much in terms of what's compared to Hillsborough and Pinellas, but it's on the way. So as we go through the next hour, we're going to continue to track the rain as it moves east, to track the wind. But I'd say if you live in Pinellas, in terms of the wind, the worst is approaching it being over. I mean, I'm not saying all of it, but, you know, we've now expired. Matter of fact, yeah, Jason's gone. I think he's gone. But the high wind warning was set, the extreme wind warning was set to expire at 9:30, and we're at 9:34. So I'll tell you what, let me toss it back to LSG and Wendy. I'm going to check from the weather if we have seen that expired or extended or moved over to the east. So let's go on back to the anchor desk.
Yeah, Dennis, and you were talking about Polk County, and actually we have our own Mary O'Connell, who's actually in Lakeland right now, and you wanted to know what the weather and, you know, rain and wind was like out there. So Mary, do we have your live shot up? There we go. Take it away, Mary.
Hey guys, yeah, this is certainly the worst that we've seen since we've been here earlier this afternoon, and that's to be, it's really windy. You can see over my shoulder here. This is kind of the only glimpse of light we have because the other street over is mighty dark out there, but you can see rain is blowing sideways. We've seen some of these tree branches fall to the ground here. It appears that some of these houses still have power. We've seen some lights in the distance go off. We still have power here, but you can see it's pretty nasty outside here. I know Polk County officials said a lot of people did go to shelters here, which is obviously a good sign that people were taking it very seriously here in this area. And obviously we're just keeping an eye here because it has been an absolute downpour in this area for the last several hours, guys.
All right, thank you, Mary. We want to go down to our southern counties, move back to Manatee County and the Palmetto area.
Yeah, and that's where Katie LeGrone has been all evening long. So, Katie, how is it?
Yeah, hey guys, we're dealing with a lot of gusty winds again, but I will at this point, but it's kind of coming in squalls. However, this is actually the most comfortable I have felt standing outside of the garage of the home that we're staying in really the last probably hour and a half or 2 hours. I mean, it was pretty ferocious there for a while. And so from what I understand, in fact, I even asked our producer, what's going on in Palmetto, because we're just getting these gusts of winds yet again and this rainfall. And so this is the back edge of this is the residual effect of Hurricane Milton coming into into Palmetto. And of course, remember, Palmetto is sandwiched in between St. Petersburg to the north, Sarasota, Bradenton to the south, and we are on the east side of 75, so we are pretty good inland. In fact, there's 2 shelters that are just up the street. Matt, if you want to go ahead and pan over, you can see, if you can see in the distance, there's all those cars. That's actually a middle school, and adjacent to that is an elementary school, both of them packed with people, upwards of 1,000 plus in each shelter in each of those schools. So certainly people have heeded the warning. They've heeded the advice to leave. This area, Palmetto, of course, is a coastal community. Almost nearly all of it was under evacuation zones. But right now we're just getting kind of that back end of the storm. And, you know, you can see across the street, you know, the power still at least appears to be on. I mean, there's a couple homes that look pretty dark, but we're not quite sure if that's just because they're all boarded up. This is a neighborhood where we are located. In this neighborhood, every single home has either boards up or shutters up. I did end up talking to the folks in that home across the street earlier this evening, and they actually are not the home here seeking shelter from nearby town Ellington, just up the road. But right now we have these gusts of winds, but you know, it sort of reminds me a little bit of what we dealt with earlier in the evening when we first started to really feel the gusts for the first time, but it is the first time in a while that I have felt comfortable actually standing outside bringing this live shot. Before, if you recall, we've actually been, we're just a few steps inside this garage. We even had a portion of the garage door down, you know, about a halfway or so, just a little under a halfway, because we were feeling these gusts of winds so ferociously in this area. Guys, that's the very latest. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Katie. We turn now to Tampa, and that's where our Scripps reporter Jenna Ray joins us live in Ybor City.
Yeah, it's just about 9:40 here tonight. Jenna, how's it looking out there?
Definitely intensifying. I talked to you guys about 45 minutes ago. It was intensifying then, and now it's intensifying again. Take a look. These winds are just insane out here. You can see the rain being carried by this intense wind. It is whipping across the palm trees ahead of us, whipping back and forth. It almost looks like this rain is moving circular. It's crazy. It's going horizontal. Over the last few minutes, we've seen several transformers nearby and on this block blow. We've had huge, not explosions, but it looks like an explosion of this massive blue light that we're seeing in the sky. A loud noise for a few minutes. The power did go out here at the hotel that we are staying at. Elevators, people were actually in the elevators when that happened. The elevator doors got stuck shut, but luckily the power was able to turn back on. As you can see, the lights are still on here in Ybor City despite this crazy wind and rain that we are experiencing. A lot of people staying in this hotel behind me are actually from the Tampa area. A lot of them living closer to the shoreline, closer to the coast. They wanted to come inland to kind of brace for Hurricane Milton, and they say that they're doing just that. Again, we still have power, but those winds are definitely intensifying, and we're seeing those effects blowing. But for right now, the block that we're standing on, and as far as I can see, there is still power up where we are.
All right. Thank you. We'll check back with you in a bit. We want to stay in our southern counties where the strong winds are coming into Sarasota County as well.
Yeah, and that's where we find ABC Action News reporter Michael Paluska. So, Mike, last time we talked with you. Okay, yeah, last time we talked with you, you were in the eye.
Yeah, we're here.
I mean, incredible to witness that. So what is it like for you now? Are you getting what Katie was getting in Palmetto?
Yeah, in fact, we were just setting up because, I mean, we were relaxing. I mean, I wouldn't say relaxing, taking a little bit of a break, and it just started just going. So we actually had to go to the back of the house. I'm going to have my photographer just come out real quick so he doesn't get hammered by this wind. But this is a tree that we've been worried about the entire time. Look at this pine tree. This is what we've been worried about. A couple of limbs came off earlier during the eye wall, and it actually landed right where Reed's backing up into, right by the door. So now everything here is coming from the northwest. So we have a huge building. Reed's under a patio, so he's good. I want to show you that tree real quick. But it was really crazy because with the eye, it was so weird because we didn't have anything. So now you can see it. I'll step out of the way. We'll show you some of these trees here. I mean, it is absolutely howling. And this is why you say, you know, if you're going to go out in the eye, fine. But you got to remember that the backside's going to come back around. And now the unfortunate part is we have a 9 to 13 feet storm surge potential here in Sarasota, and this is when the water starts getting pushed onshore. We've had an offshore flow here. It's been getting pushed and sucking water out of Tampa Bay, and now as this storm, you know, goes counterclockwise, it is going to start pushing water into Sarasota Bay. We're about a mile from Sarasota Bay, still not too crazy with the rain, but the winds have these bursts of storm force gusts. I think we had a hurricane force gust in Sarasota Airport, SRQ, 96 miles per hour when we were reporting in the eye of the storm, the eye wall of the storm as it came through. Now we're here in a neighborhood just outside of downtown Sarasota. Yep. All of those flashes that you see, that's not lightning, those are transformers exploding. And I've got a block construction building to my right, and the building that I'm in is actually blocking everything that's coming in. So whatever's going to fly over is going to clear this 2-story building, and it's going to go right over my head. So we know we're okay to be out here reporting. We are probably going to get some hurricane force gusts here where we are. You know, you can tell where we're at. We're at a nice place. Obviously, they have a pool. I know people have been talking about draining their pools. I actually had to drain the pool here at the Airbnb because it started to flood over the top. So I went over to the pump, I drained it out, and then we turned it off. And so, I mean, that's good because, you know, you don't want that overflowing into your house. That's just as bad as localized flooding, freshwater flooding. So yeah, what a weird thing to have this thing just spin around after being so calm. You guys saw our report maybe 45 minutes to an hour ago. And now we're gonna get out in it. Let me just see what we got cooking over here, just so you can kind of get a perspective of where we are. So we're in a neighborhood, Sarasota, and you can see these trees here. Everything is blowing now behind me to the northwest. There's a shed over there that the roof blew off. There's a house in the front of the yard where the roof blew off. So whatever was impacted earlier by the winds that were coming from the east, now whatever was loose and is compromised is now going to potentially be hammered from the northwest. So that's what you got to know. This thing runs counterclockwise. So yeah, we're gonna try to get reset, figured out this situation because we kind of just jumped out here. Photographer Reed Moeller on the tripod, and then you guys can come back to us. But I think we're going to be in this for maybe the next hour or so. Oh, huge explosion, huge explosion. The good thing is we're not, see all the debris around me. The good news is we're not hearing anything hammer our roof or our window anymore. When it was coming in behind me over the top, we were getting hammered with debris yard. I think this is probably the safest place that we can report from right now and probably be out in it for a long time, because I'll just show you this house here. That is a block construction. So we're blocked but with the wind by that. And then if Reed just sort of pans around towards me, we'll just sort of show you this real quick and then we'll send it back. But this house, it's sturdy and everything is basically going that way. So we're going to keep reporting. The big issue here, I think, this wind's going to die down, and then as the high tide comes in, it's the surge. The surge is going to wipe people out, and that is horrific and heartbreaking, and that's what we're looking at now. So don't think because it was calm earlier that it's calm now. You're going to realize it flips on and it just starts howling and it just keeps going. So I know tomorrow morning when we get up, we're going to see some awful images, and people are going to be waking up to a lot of damage, and people are going to lose a lot of stuff. But as long as you stay safe, you keep your life, your stuff can be replaced, put it in a dumpster, send it to the landfill. you're good to go. For now, we're live here in Sarasota. Michael Pluska, ABC Action News.
All right, Michael, thank you. I actually have, again, been receiving quite a few emails from viewers out there asking me questions I simply cannot answer because they're weather related. I've gotten several emails from Pasco County folks, especially in Wesley Chapel and areas that are more inland. They don't understand what's going on. They felt like there hasn't been enough, talk about what's going on there. But I also got a couple emails about flash floods, especially in areas where there's no river, no stream, no canal. What does it mean? Because they're getting apparently warnings about flash flooding, so they're wondering, what does it mean to them?
They are. I'm just over here listening to the side of our building, just like.
It is a little concerning, for sure.
Yeah.
Jason's face is like, So, yeah, I mean, look, we were talking about this a minute ago. First of all, the extreme wind warning expired. Not going to be reissued. So, at least according to the Weather Service so far. So, that's huge. So, the areas that had the heaviest wind, the extreme wind, that warning has expired, and yet Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on the back side just had 102-mile-an-hour wind gust. So on the back side of the eye, right there, there's your eye, there's the back side, coming in like there, 102-mile-an-hour wind gust. So there is a ton of wind still going on out there. In terms of your question, Wendy, so we talked about a flash flood, right? Flash flood emergency. Radar indicated. So what that means is the Weather Service has seen that there's a ridiculous amount of rain that has fallen in an area, and the majority of the time that will cause extreme flooding. But the thing is, we have not had any reports of that yet. At least we haven't. Maybe they have, although I have not seen. Have you seen anything, Jason, in the chat? I haven't either.
The only thing is they said 5 inches of rainfall in 1 hour in St. Pete. That put it over 16 inches of rain, that total.
So 5 inches of rain in 1 hour might break the all-time record, because I remember we had about 5 inches of rain this summer in one of our thunderstorms. It was 4.92, I think, and that was an all-time 1 hour rainfall record. So that might very well be that record. But regardless, my point is, so what Jason's pointing at things over my head, that's never safe. That's okay. So obviously it's gonna, no, never mind.
We're
anyway,
good.
Our sister station, WPTV, had the same thing happen years ago, and there was some real issues with water coming through the roof. Now Wendy and Lauren are all looking too. Yeah, anyway, all right, so same architect, I believe, but I digress. Oh. Anyway, she's like, stop. Anyway, all right, so what I was saying is, this is considered a considerable threat. Now that's actually lower.
That's the new one.
Okay.
So you've got the,
what's the red?
That's the red box.
Okay.
I'll pop it up for you.
So you've got a radar indicated area of flash flooding, and that is catastrophic. So all that is an algorithm that says if you get X number of inches of rain in a short period of time, it can cause catastrophic flooding. We have not seen the report yet that that has actually happened. Now, folks in Pasco County, we love you. We love you. But we're focusing on the areas that have seen the heaviest rain and the dangerous wind. I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, we want to let everybody know what's going on, and that's why we're showing you the radar. But if you haven't heard us talking about your particular spot, then your particular spot is significantly less threatening than other areas. And those areas were Hillsborough and Pinellas County. And as we said, the winds gusting over 100 miles an hour in Sarasota at the airport on the backside of the eye there. So the answer to your question is, we don't have any verification of catastrophic flooding, but when a certain amount of rain falls in a certain amount of time, it would fall under the flash flood warning, or again, yes, if there's someone that notifies or sends pictures, or FHP or whatever notifies that there is significant flooding going on. Certainly rainfall of 5 inches in 1 hour, to be that, there's only so fast that water can drain. But again, and we talked about this earlier, this offshore flow is not backing anything up. If the water was coming onshore in this area, we would be getting ridiculous flooding across the area. And I'm not saying we're not. I'm saying the odds are less likely that it will be as widespread with this offshore flow. Wendy, does that answer your question, or were you not listening because you were looking at the monitor?
No, I think it answers. You were very thorough in Citrus County. Thank you. I don't know if you got to Hernando County and, oh, I'm sorry, Pasco County and Wesley Chapel. Okay.
I did. And again, my point is, we got you guys. We got you. So if we're not talking about your specific spot right now, it's because your threat is very low and we're not getting any reports of anything. Look, remember when we were saying this? Okay, so my producer just says we're going to in Seminole, and we've already seen how bad the wind is in Seminole. Now, I actually think it may be improving shortly, but no, you hanging in there?
Yes.